Alright guys, haven't seen you guys in a long time, but I haven't made a new video in a while. Today we're going to be playing Morph Girl. I know I was thinking about continuing the Resident Evil 7. I'm not sure how I feel about it right now. Still working on it. I've been having kind of mic issues, so it may sound a little bit weird, but hopefully you can bear with me. Alright, let's get into it. I know a little bit about this game, but not a ton. My name is Elena Pierce. On Friday, it will have been a year since the death of my wife, Rebecca. Since then, my life has been one of tedium and monotonous routine. I work an unpaid office job at a failing insurance company. I don't have any friends and I rarely leave the house. And in just a few days, everything is going to change. Is it now? Rebecca was a writer. Her reluctance to find real work put strain on both our finances and our relationship. During our argument over our accumulating debt, Rebecca suffered a seizure. Okay, that's odd. She was quickly diagnosed with terminal brain cancer. She died 9 months later. Every day I watch her favorite movies, read her journals, and her short stories. What started out as a means to move on quickly became a routine that I couldn't escape. There's little to my life outside of what I have left of Rebecca. That's a different bag. Where are we going? I very quickly began to underperform at work. My boss was very understanding, but as the company started to lose money, coworkers began to resent me for the work I could not do. I was quickly relegated to my own office. Coworkers make hateful comments and drop hints about my supposed job security whenever I talk to them. I try not to talk to anybody. People tell me that I need to move on and get over Rebecca's death. I don't want to. I can't. So I won't. It's been 5 months since Rebecca was diagnosed. Breathing is becoming difficult for her. Movement is an almost Herculean task now. While our doctors say that we still have options, Rebecca is beginning to refuse further treatment. She wants to travel. Wait, what? She wants to travel the world before she dies, see all that she can while she can. She's giving up. I don't want her to. She's tired, too tired for optimism, too tired for treatment. She's tired of living. We argue constantly over the continuation of her treatment. She only has months left. If she doesn't, she's getting visibly weaker with every passing day. She can barely walk, let alone travel the world. It would kill her. Rebecca knows all of this. She doesn't want to be miserable anymore. She wants the both of us to spend the rest of her life in some exotic country, to elope from her treatment with money we do not have, with time she does not have. Well, it's not letting me save. Clearly, this is the right choice. I begged Rebecca to stop talking as though she's going to die. What starts as a heartfelt plea rapidly turns into me screaming and shouting at her. I tell her that we can't afford to travel, that she can hardly walk, that she's stupid for thinking we could do anything other than try to get her better. Rebecca quietly agrees to further treatment. It doesn't work. Rebecca only continues to worsen, and we are soon out of options. Rebecca can no longer walk or breathe by herself. She often cries, frequently wishing that we could be on a beach somewhere in the Caribbean. I feel guilty. I don't. Just a few days until the anniversary of Rebecca's death. Okay, we're gonna save, like, now. I'm not ready for it. Tuesday. Okay, so was that a choice of some sort? Like, don't think that's gonna change anything. This game's gonna get spooky. Hopefully, right? Every day goes by the same as the last. What the hell? I don't know if it's guilt, loyalty, or just fear that compels me to stay put. It's fear. How can I have happiness when I denied her the same? That's a bad attitude to have. Rebecca wants me to read some of her book on account that I never have before. I've always condemned her choice to focus on writing as opposed to pursuing legitimate employment. Her writing has always been a source of major contention between us. She wants to know what I think of it, before that's no longer possible. I don't know what to say. She's desperate for me to read it, despite prior altercations. This makes me feel angry and a little bit guilty. Despite everything, she still insists that her writing career is important to her, the very pursuit that has jeopardized our home, financial security, and our marriage for years. I don't want to encourage her, but it's her passion. How's the other one even an option? I tell Rebecca that I will read it. It's a collection of short horror stories. I finished them all in just a few days. They're good, really good. Rebecca's university grades were relatively poor, but she was always highly regarded for her fiction writing. She's really talented. I feel guilty. Only now that she's dying have I've even bothered to read any of her work. All these years I've kept Rebecca from her writing aspirations, and now she really may never reach them. When she asks if I'd read it, I'm too embarrassed, ashamed to admit any of this to her. I tell her that I've been too busy. She never asks again. I often think that I would do anything to get Rebecca back. Do you? I'm gonna save again. Like, would I? I refuse to get on with my life, and yet I still expect it to change. That's a fallacy right there. It's almost as though I were waiting for something. It's been 2 months since the diagnosis. Rebecca is exhausted from chemotherapy, sick of both the side effects and its administration. She doesn't like her doctor or any of her nurses. She hates the hospital and is very outspoken about how much she doesn't want to be around real cancer patients. Rebecca doesn't want to feel unable. She's restless and very much in denial. It's Friday night. Rebecca wants to go out with her friends. I tell her that I don't think it's a good idea for her to be exerting herself so soon after therapy. I need this, she says. I'm scared that this will be too much for Rebecca, but I can't keep her from living her life. You can't. Like, you're gonna die. I insist that Rebecca stay in for her health. She does. I can tell that she's disappointed. We order some takeaway, eat snacks, and watch all of her favorite movies. It's not what Rebecca wanted, but we have a nice evening in together. Rebecca seems happy. I am too. This game's very weird. Spooky. Dot dot dot. What is that? I think I see something by the bath plug. Something leaking? It doesn't look like water. Should I go in? No, we just leave. I don't know what was in the bath, but whatever it is, I need to forget about it. I can't be thinking about this right now. Not this week. I have some time before I leave for work. I can collect myself in the living room. I can pretend that everything is alright. It isn't. Just gotta, like, if there's some demon, or who knows what the hell's going on, you don't try to, like, reinforce any of this. This girl's, like, losing her mind. Menu? Photos. So we're finally playing. Interesting. Photos of me and Rebecca on the day we moved in. We probably shouldn't have moved into a house with such expensive rent. But Rebecca wouldn't stop talking about kids. Though Rebecca was set on living in the city, she also thought that we need extra space. I think we would have been good parents. I didn't see any photos. We just get scammed. What if we click it again? Yep. Same thing. We never even saw photos. Like, oh. Alright. No task. What does that mean? It's one of the notebooks Rebecca used to write her stories in. Come with us, page 1. Typical. That's the best way Jane could have described the night. The moon was out, lighting the room in a dull, familiar glow. The air was still, peaceful. It was the perfect conditions for sleeping. Many would agree with her, except the typical night had been disturbed, in the most atypical way Jane could have ever imagined. Jane squirmed in the corner of her bed. She pressed herself against the headboard and the wall, hugging her knees. Most of all, she was trembling. It wasn't every night that you wake to find an expressionless child standing at the end of your bed, after all. The main question on Jane's mind was why? Why her? Why tonight? Why a child? Jane never thought of herself as particularly special. Surely this only happened to those who warranted it. The weird and wonderful. Not someone like her. Normal. That's the best way Jane could describe herself. Her name was Jane Audrey Phillips. Named after her two grandmothers naturally, she had brown hair. Brown shoulder-length hair. It was practical. Brown eyes like her father. She wasn't particularly tall, neither particularly short. She did well at school. It led to a job that paid her bills. She neither liked her job nor did she dislike it. She had often thought she was a very neutral person. She didn't think much of anything. Not that she wasn't happy. She was in a calm, contented way. She got on with things, much like herself. The day could also be described as normal. She awoke 3 minutes before her alarm, as she usually did, ate a reluctant breakfast, and headed to work. Work was average. Papers needed filing, reports needed writing, minimal conversation, and a sticky R key on her laptop. Returning home, leftovers for dinner, calling her mom. It was the routine she'd had for years. She went to bed on time and fell asleep in a timely manner. Nothing indicated anything odd should happen to her at all. And yet there the child stood, at the end of her bed, in her room. It was a girl. It was wearing a white nightgown reminiscent of times far gone. It had long, unwavering dark hair. Its face was pale and its eyes were dark. It made Jane uncomfortable to think of the strange specter as a girl, so she didn't. A young girl wouldn't find herself in a stranger's room in the middle of the night. This was not a young girl. That was all Jane could figure out. The woman had already tried asking it for information, but it wouldn't speak. It didn't react at all. It just stared at her. There was a chill on her spine she was desperately trying to ignore, almost as if someone was slowly dragging an icicle up her back. She pressed herself harder against the wall. The sensation didn't cease. Finally, the child parted its pale lips. Though this was once the outcome Jane was hoping for, somehow it only terrified her more. She shrunk further into the bed. She was shivering. Come with us. Jane sucked in her breath as the child spoke. Its voice was small and soft. It sounded like a little girl. It almost left Jane less afraid. Almost. But the eyes were so dark and the stare was so intense. Jane desperately wanted to look away, or close her eyes, but she daren't. The woman was terrified if she broke eye contact. The child would choose something. She couldn't know what. The unease only grew. The child's face remained blank as it stared, though its head tilted to the side. It was almost cute. Almost. Jane suddenly realized it was ready for a response. The woman released her breath. The breath she didn't realize she was holding. Where? Her voice wobbled as she spoke. Her lips left trembling. The child shook its head a little, its dark hair shuffling over its chest. Come with us. Spooky. It's notebook. I thought that was an F. See? But they could have wrote out notebook. Maybe they're trying to make small words for some reason. Films. Let's look. It's Rebecca's collection of horror movies. Okay, yep. Well, some of them. TV. The Brain That Wouldn't Die. I used to like this one. The film was about a mad scientist who managed to keep a woman's severed head alive for several days. The woman begs for him to let her die. Unsurprisingly, I no longer care for it. What is that? See that? Oh, it's her in the mirror. That's a mirror, huh? So that was a window. That would be really spooky. Alright, let's just leave, I guess. Whew. Let's see what happens. I feel like I've made what people would probably consider to be the cold decisions, but I think when somebody has treatment, they really need to listen to their doctor and do what's the smart and responsible thing. Please finish report by end of tomorrow. Maybe you'd be happier working somewhere else. Passive-aggressive comments certainly aren't uncommon around here, but I don't think I can put off this report any longer. I'll do the bulk of the work tomorrow. I can't do this right now. What? You even said so. Like, they want it. You got to do it. So what do you do at work then? If you aren't... Yeah? Is that what I would have seen? Kinda just ruined it. I used to take comfort in working here after Rebecca's death. I could pretend that she was at home waiting for me, just like before. A small part of me really believed that she would be. Alright, are we gonna, like... Is that, like, the door that's making this sound? Because that's a really weird door. There's gonna be a little girl. Oh. What are you doing here? Whatever was leaking has now completely filled the bath. Looks like blood. I need to call somebody over to fix this. I don't want to. I don't want to have to deal with any of this. I can't deal with this. Not today. Not this week. Not anymore. What the fuck? Just walking away? Alright. I like the walking away. You know what? This is probably a hallucination from what I'm gathering. So I'm not. We're not gonna do it. This is like clearly a hallucination. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Pretty sure this character's having some serious issues. It's not real. Maybe we made the wrong choice. Rebecca always insisted on living in the city. It's expensive. We could only afford a small house. It's overpriced, ugly, and the landlord is a bitch. Were we to live anywhere else, this place would be a fraction of the rent I pay for it. I can get us somewhere bigger. Maybe then we could afford what Rebecca needs for her recovery. I want to move. Making sure that Rebecca gets better as fast as possible is more important to me. But Rebecca insists that we stay. She says that the city is our home, that she doesn't want to leave our memories behind. It's a terrible place. We can save money. See, I think you need to save money so you can pay the medical bills. I tell Rebecca that it isn't her decision to make. I'm the one paying for our rent. She chose this house. It's my turn. Rebecca reluctantly agrees. She doesn't speak to me for hours, until we get an urgent call about a test result. We drive to the hospital in silence. It's not good news. It's terminal. I mean, they said it was brain cancer. Rebecca is dying. Yeah, I get it. She died. We already know that. Alright, let's get back to spooky. Friday. Does that mean this game only lasts till Friday? Oh, it's like a giant tablet. It's fine. It's fine. You really need to go see a psychologist. Like, I think I heard something break in the kitchen. Is somebody in there? I don't have time for any of this. I'm already late for work, and if I don't finish my report today, I could lose my job. Honestly, I'd rather be burgled. Should I go in? Nah. See, you don't fall for the traps of this monster. You do what you gotta do. We gotta do this report. We gotta do this report, you know? Oh, we're doing the report. Hey, she's actually doing something. Maybe doing the report will be enough to take her mind off of things. Maybe. Probably not. Who is that? Hello? Nothing. Nobody seems to be there. I guess I'll hang up. So then who calls every morning? Home? That's my home phone number. Is somebody really inside my house? Are they really calling me from my own home? Surely this has to be some kind of joke. I shouldn't answer it. They've broken into my home. I still really need to finish this report. Then maybe I should answer. I have no idea who this person is or why they might be calling. Who knows who it could be? Who knows who it could be? Do not. You gotta do the report. Like, you gotta keep your job. Like, if you wanna live in this house, you gotta do your job to pay for the rent. You gotta do it. Even if it is with a ghost monster thing in it, you gotta pay for the rent. Oh, see, this thing's failing. Look at it, they can't win. We're beating it up. We're winning. It's easy. Stay calm. Whoever is doing this is likely responsible for everything that's happened. This is just some terrible joke. I will just call the police, change the locks, forget any of this ever happened. Everything will be fine. Normal. Yeah, I don't know about that. Alright, here's where we get wrecked. She didn't even call the police. She didn't even call the police. Doors, locks it. Yeah, what are you gonna do? The figure standing in the kitchen. Despite everything, it felt like Rebecca. It isn't Rebecca. Maybe if I hide here long enough, it will leave of its own accord. I'll stay here until it does. That's pretty spooky. Rebecca has been hospital-ridden for a week now. She's on life support. She could no longer move or speak. She could barely breathe. We had to take her. She will never leave. The doctors say that she has only days left. She's going to die. Rebecca is in horrific pain. She frequently gestures to her life support. I know what she wants. Yeah, see, I'm kind of torn here because I understand both perspectives of this. And in fact, I wrote a paper in college on this in one of my philosophy classes, but more often than not, I think this is the more just thing. Even if there's a chance. It's better to have that chance than none at all. I don't pull Rebecca's life support. I pour my heart out to her over the next couple days. I say sorry for everything I did wrong. I tell her how much I love her and how much she means to me. This isn't for us. This is closure for me. I can see the pain in her eyes and I ignore it. I catch her eyes drifting longfully towards her life support machinery. I ignore it. Rebecca dies from pneumonia 5 days later. You should have helped her. No. No. Spooky. Saturday? Well, she could have gotten annihilated at any time. This isn't real. Bills. Overdue rent. Rebecca was always too focused on her writing to consider employment, but we managed. Until I was demoted. See, she never even said that before. Photos. We're gonna get, or is it a different photo album this time? Can we actually see some photos? That would be nice. It's a photograph of me and Rebecca at a party, just a few days after we met. I was a loner at university. I spent a lot of nights at the student bar alone, hoping that I wouldn't be. Student bar? What? One night I met Rebecca. She very quickly introduced me to her circle of friends and invited me to a party later that week. We kissed for the first time that night. University. Student bar. That's just... Okay. Seen that old 4440. Notes and nice things. It's one of Rebecca's old notebooks. She used to write her short stories in these. Does that mean we're going to get another one? Come with us, page 5. Afraid. It was the only emotion Jane could put into words. The child never left. She stayed by Jane's side until the terrified woman left for work. Acting normal seemed quite the task for her. Jane returned home wishing that the child would be gone. Alas, she was sat quiet as ever at the kitchen table, turning her head to Jane as she entered the room. Jane spent the day trying to ask the child questions about her name, where she came from, who she was. The woman was met with silence each time. She gave up, continued as normal. If she ignored her, she might go away. But wherever Jane went, the child followed. Wherever Jane sat, the child sat against her. Ignorance wasn't an option. When nighttime fell, the child followed her closely throughout her routine, silent and expressionless. As Jane hesitantly climbed into bed, the child stood where she had done the night before and pointed, knitting her brow once again. Carefully, Jane offered the other side of the bed to her. The child did as she wanted and lay next to the trembling woman. Jane pressed her against her back against the wall as the child stared at her from the pillow beside her own. They stared at each other for a while before the child sighed, that soft little sigh again, and closed her eyes. Jane didn't dare move her gaze for what felt like hours. Though the child didn't move, her eyes remained closed, and she was softly breathing. Jane knew the child didn't eat, nor did it use the bathroom. There was very little reason to believe the child needed to sleep. Paranoid, the woman remained obstinately awake. Come with us, page 6. Jane opened her eyes quickly, breathing rapidly as she realized she had fallen asleep. The child's eyes were open, though her position had not moved. It scared Jane to wake to those dark eyes staring at her once again. The room was still dark. Jane desperately tried to regulate her breathing. As her eyes swept against the room, she let out a small shriek. Jane scrambled to sit up in the bed, pressing her back against the wall. There was a second child, stood at the foot of her bed, staring at her with the exact same dark eyes. This child appeared to be a boy. The hair was shorter, but just as dark and flat. It partially obscured the eyes. The child was also wearing a nightgown. They appeared to be a matching set, though they didn't acknowledge each other. Only her. Jane very briefly tore her eyes away from the second child to look at the first. She was sitting now, too, but her gaze was fixed on Jane. Come with us, they spoke in unison. The woman sucked in a breath and fought the urge to cry. She shook her head a little in response. Jane then felt the first child sit closer, her hair brushing against her arm. Jane looked down. The girl was staring right at her, leaning her head against her shoulder once again. Come with us, she spoke, her voice soft. Somehow it calmed her. She felt herself able to breathe again. Where? She asked the girl. The child simply sighed and looked ahead, resting on her shoulder. Jane moved her gaze to the boy. He was staring at her. Where? She asked again. In response, he moved to where the girl stood the night before. Jane blinked at him and looked down at the bed. Do you want to get on the bed too? She asked fearfully. He did so, leaning against the girl, looking ahead as she did. All Jane could do was focus on taking breaths in and out. They sat there like that until morning. This is like clearly some kind of metaphor for what's going on here in one way or another, or some kind of regret. Let's look at the TV. Attack of the Giant Leeches. This is one of Rebecca's old movies. She used to make fun of me for liking it, saying she said it was a really bad film. It is. Yeah, I'm not actually going to watch that. Alright. Is that her brush? Ooh, the rose, though. Alright, we'll look at the diary first. Entry number 1. She said no. My dreams might as well just stay in my sleep. Who gives a shit? Clearly not me. I'll just stay in hospital and be miserable for the rest of my short fucking life. Entry 2. So I tentatively asked Elena to read my stories. Well, not all of them, just the ones I wanted to publish. I won't be able to publish them now. Oh well, she's the biggest critic I have anyway. She said she would. It makes me nervous. I don't know why. When we were studying, she used to read what I wrote, but that was for school. After I graduated and decided to write full-time, she said she wasn't interested. Started off not having time nor interest for it. Ended up shouting at me every time I mention it. Clearly dying is the exception. I've always wondered what she'll say. I'll never find out. She said she was too busy. It was just 5 short stories. She could have read it in the evenings, but she doesn't spend with me. I know she hates seeing me like this, but she won't be seeing me at all soon enough. It would be nice if she could just think about me. Entry number 3. The gang asked me to go out with them. It's the first time they've asked in a while, and I could tell they were expecting a no. The answer was a no, mainly because of Elena. I miss them so much, I wish I could go out and have a good time with them again. I want to make more positive memories, but Elena convinced me that if I went, the memories wouldn't be so very positive if I couldn't make it without getting too tired. Everyone's so sympathetic if I show any weakness. I hate it. I guess I should be thankful I didn't go. I'm kind of. We have a nice night together, me and Elena, that is. She really made an effort to not waste the evening. I didn't expect that at all, if I'm honest. Normally, when we disagree on something to do with cancer and illness, she gets stubborn and shouty. I have to focus on the positives. It was a lovely night. We ordered pizza from my favorite place. We watched my favorite horror movies. The bad favorites, the real bad favorites. Attack of the Giant Leeches and The Brain That Wouldn't Die. Have I mentioned how much I love bad horrors? Ha. It's nights like these that remind me why I married her. It's good because I've been questioning that recently. Though I can't blame her too much with how she's reacting. This situation is totally fucked. Things were going great. Just great. Until she said she wanted to move house. Elena did her Elena thing and decided she wanted to move. So of course we have to do it. She hated our home from the beginning. She wanted to live in the country. Somewhere in the middle of nowhere. Somewhere boring. Just so we could have a better place with our budget. I don't care about living in a fancy house. Fancy houses don't make good homes. Back then she knew how to make a compromise. So we got this place in the outskirts of the city. I had a vision for it the moment we stepped in. The landlord is a bitch, but she's just a stone. We'd be out of there as soon as Elena got our promotion or I could publish my book. It wouldn't be a hassle when we moved because we already live in the city of our dreams. We're already part of the community and know our way around. We just get to live in a slightly fancier place. Alright, fancy houses could be homes if you earn them, I'll admit it. But living in a shitty place neither of us want, just so we can have fancy shit, is cheating. I hate it. I don't want to live in the middle of nowhere just so I can have a hospital bed in the living room and a stupid accessible old person bathroom. That will mean I won't be able to get away from anything, even when I go home. But Elena has to get her way with my life once again, so I'll just live in the middle of nowhere in a shitty, unfamiliar house that looks like a hospital. It's all in my best interest, of course. So after all that, shitty day, big argument, stony silence, long as fuck car drive, all to be told I'm dying. Elena won't even look at me. I don't want to look at me. What the fuck do I even do? You let me suffer. Sure. Sure I did. Yeah. It's all me. It's all me. A preserved rose. Rebecca gave this to me on the last Valentine's Day we ever spent together. She said it would last forever so that she could make up for all the Valentine's Day she was going to miss. It is wilting. It's the crystal graduation bear I gave to Rebecca when she graduated. Later she had encouraged me to become more confident and outgoing. I'd pushed and tutored Rebecca to finish university. I was so proud of her that day, and so very grateful. Love forever, dream big, smile always. Doesn't look like you're living by that motto anymore, Elena. It's the engagement ring that I used to propose a few weeks after we moved together. It was a very cheap ring. We didn't have a lot of money at the time. I was so worried that she wouldn't like it. I don't think she did, though she would never admit it to me. Alright. Well, let's just keep going. Gonna keep saving. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. Why would you... It's gonna be okay, Elena. It's waiting for me. What does it want? It hasn't done anything to me yet. Feels like Rebecca. What if it's okay? Maybe I should approach it. But then maybe I should grab a knife from the kitchen first, just to be safe. Fuck it. Who grabs a knife? Like, she's gonna kill you. If she was evil, she'd kill you before you can grab a knife. Just fuck it. Like, let's do this. Let's get it over with. Either we die here, or we replay, or I don't know what. Nah, let's fucking die. I ran away from that thing that claimed to be Rebecca and didn't look back. And that was the end of it. All of it. The water looks nice. I really like the filter of this whole thing. I moved to the other side of the country to get away from that thing that broke into my house that night. To move on from Rebecca's death. I went on to publish Rebecca's collection of short stories in her stead. Just like she always wanted. But you can't get away from the monster. Blah. I never did see Rebecca again. I'm glad. The Rebecca that I loved is long gone, but I will never let her be forgotten. Her stories are so good, everybody seems to think so. They're doing really well, and so am I. I wonder where this is that they're doing the recording. Could literally be anywhere, but it looks like Europe. This is but one of 6 ends to Elena's story. Your choices incur real consequences, significantly altering your conclusion to Morph Girl. Will you find them all? I don't know. Alright, so that was Morph Girl. I really enjoyed that game. It was really different. I may play this on my own time a bit. I would say if anybody's interested to give it a try, clearly there's 6 different endings, and I think we got probably one of the happier endings. I mean, my goal in the end was to get her to get over everything anyways, because that's the most, like, the best attitude to have towards loss and grief in general. Anyways, so it's I think it's like $3.99 on Steam, so it's pretty cheap. I'd give it a try if you're interested at all. Alright, so I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.